Hi, I'm pleased you can join me today. You're watching Esther from Stampin' Star Creations. I was recently asked about how I actually prepare my Bible journaling pages, and I like to use Liquid-X clear gesso, and this just gives me a nice waterproof base to put my watercolour pencils on. So I just use these sponge brushes, apply a bit on the end of the tips and then just brush it onto the page. Now the pen that I use for the journaling is this EK Tools Black Archival pen. So being Armistice Day and thinking about remembrance and those that have died in the war on behalf of the country, I was struck by this verse in John chapter 15 verse 13. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friend. And also thinking about the greatest sacrifice of all, that Jesus came to die on the cross for our sins, for those that believe and trust in him. So in this Stampin' Up Bloom and Grow stamp set, I'll be using the flowers here that remind me of poppies, and I'll be using them in my page today. So I'm going to do something a bit different and turn my page so my journaling goes horizontally across the page. And I've already gone ahead and written or summarised the verse by writing greatest love and then sacrifice. So actually leaning on my piercing mat just to give me a flat surface for stamping. Using this black tuxedo memento ink and making sure it gets a really good inking up before going in and stamping it on my page, and just blocking off the verse area, so masking that section off so that I don't stamp onto the verses. Give that a good press down to make sure it adheres onto the page. And then doing the same again in the other corner. So I go in to put my writing underneath, and I suddenly thought, oh, I could still have this page the other way, but I ended up sticking with what I've got. So as I tend to write, I tend to adapt my writing as I go along and just not be too strict with that rough copy underneath. I decided just to do little ticks on the end of each of those letters to give it some interest. Now the word sacrifice is a lot smaller on my rough sheet, so I'm going in more freehand here to write the word sacrifice, using the same style font that I used in my rough copy, but making it bigger to fit in that space. Going over it to highlight those letters. Now I had this idea of wanting to create a silhouette with some of the extra sprigs and leaves that came in the stamp set. So I'm just positioning these around the edges of the work. I then go in with the leaf stamps just to fill in some of those gaps. Once I've laid down all the stamping, I get out my watercolour pencils, so I'm using basic black, real red and shaded spruce. So I'm doing a rough colour around the flowers and not filling the entire flower in, because I know that when I come in later with the aqua pen it will pick up on those colours and it will spread. And then coloured the leaves in the shaded spruce, and then using the basic black to fill in those silhouette sprigs and leaves. Now by this time it's always looks a bit odd when the lettering isn't coloured, so I go in and usually add colours to my letters after I've done it. Learning from past experience, try and go with the lighter colour, so just ever so gently going in with the water onto the leaves and then colouring in those poppies. As you can see, I'm picking up the colour and then just using it to colour in any of those blank petals around that I haven't actually coloured in with the watercolour pencil. Just spreading that water and the ink across to the edges just to fill in those gaps. And then the last colour being the black, and using it to make that silhouette, and ever so gently going in with the aqua pen and just using a piece of copy paper so that I don't have to lean on all my work. After pulling the camera back, it looked like something was missing, so I decided to add some more sprigs around the wording. I was thinking about maybe hearts or something like that, but it just didn't seem quite appropriate with the look that I was going for. I decided to keep the theme of the black silhouettes with the sprigs, and I still felt that it had some, the edges needed more attention, so I coloured those in with a bit more real red. I go ahead and add some more leaves. There were still a few blank spaces that looked as if they needed filling in. So rather than doing more black, I added some shaded spruce colour to these leaves to make them look as if they were coming out from the poppies. Now, I don't always dry off my work, but I just decided that because it was quite damp in places that I would go over with the heat tool, and actually again the first time I've just used a kitchen towel to dab off the wet areas. Now, I wanted the poppies to be more vibrant, so I'm going back with a dry watercolour pencil and going in the real red, not forgetting to highlight my verse that I'm working on. Then I make sure I date it with today's date. I also keep a record in the back of my Bible. This is a great way to see when I've actually journalled and when I've done them and what I've journalled on as well. I'm hoping at the end of the year I'll do a walkthrough of all the different journals I've done over the past year. Now, it looks as if I've skipped a month, but I will show you what I've done so far. So just writing here a brief description of what the journal was about. Really appreciate you watching along. Do comment below if you've got any comments. Do follow, subscribe and like. And thank you very much for your company. Take care. God bless. Have a good day.